Guys that didn't practice today were Rashard Fenton, Willie Gay, and Sammy Watkins. They're all making progress. Everybody else was out there moving around. Clyde got some work in today, which was good. And he's feeling better every day, every day that we go along here. So, listen, we look forward to the challenge of playing the Browns. I mean, they're a heck of a football team. I mean, you get to this time of the year and you're playing against the best. So we've had a chance to look at them on tape and respect the heck out of them, the job that they've done, coaching and playing. So, again, it was good to get started with our practice today, and we'll keep working, make sure we get everything down for the game plan and for Sunday. All right, that time's yours.
We'll go first to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Andy.
Hey, Sam.
I wonder, just generally speaking, not this game, but kind of every game generally, how much of your game planning are you pretty aware of what the other team's going to do, in the sense that obviously teams have strengths and weaknesses, but I assume that they try and disguise their weaknesses a little bit. So how much can you actually prepare for exactly what you're going to see on any given Sunday?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, teams, it's hard to just replace the whole defense and offense and just start from scratch. So, and they wouldn't be here if they weren't good at what they did. So normally they come out and it's similar to what they've done, and then they'll have a wrinkle here or there for your game. That doesn't mean that it won't favor one. If a team has 5 coverages, that they don't favor one over the other, or one front over the other, or whatever it might be, to play against what they consider your weaknesses or matchups. So that's kind of how it rolls. But for the most part, things are, after you get through about the first 4 games of the season, everything's somewhat, there's a base to most of the things. Yeah.
Go next to Dave Scretta. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, Andy, how are you doing?
All right,
I asked Kevin Stefanski a similar question earlier, but John Dorsey has kind of his paw prints on both of these teams. I wonder if, when you look at the Browns, if you see that in personnel and style and scheme, the things that he maybe brought to that organization when they were turning it around.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he did a nice job here and there, and so of bringing people in and they can play football, and so you see that, and yes, I would. So I'd answer you yes. I could see that.
Let's go next to Sarin Petro. Go ahead, Sarin.
Coach, the 2 things are real quick. Number one, I know there was a statement or a message, I guess, from the PR department about helicopters going by. Do you have a story like back in your career where you remember like kind of the spy where people were looking in on your practice? That's number one. If there just is any history around teams trying to get that edge that way. And then number 2, is it possible to win in the playoffs if your quarterback doesn't play well?
Yeah. So just with the helicopters, I mean, it's the noise and the, they're obviously filming your practice. So, I mean, it's you don't necessarily want that out there. But I understand everybody wants to see it and that, but it's just, that's part of the relationship. So that we have with the media, that you take care of business there. What was your other part, Doug? You hit me with that, with the helicopter. I haven't had a lot of those. So.
Sorry about that. The other part is when you get to this point, right? Everybody's good. Can anybody, not just your team, but can any team win playoff games if their quarterback doesn't play well?
Well, I'd say yes. I mean, but I'd say that about anybody. And then likewise, if you're not coaching well, that likewise. So, normally you get to this point, and normally everybody does a pretty decent job. So. And it's just great competition. That's the part I love about this. You get the kind of the cream of the crop, and this league is so competitive anyways. And then you add into it these teams that have just really excelled, and you love that challenge, man. I mean, it's an awesome deal. It's hard to explain, but it's awesome. Yeah.
Go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Coach, we got to speak with Dylan a couple weeks back, and he had mentioned Clyde was just really attacking his injury, really going at the rehab, trying to do everything in his power to get here for this week. What have you seen from him in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does. I had a chance to see him in a couple of the rehab procedures as of late, and he gets after it. And, a lot of it is the way you approach it and the trust you have in the trainers and so on. I mean, we've all had injuries. I mean, you guys have had injuries too. So you know that you think you're going to break something by pushing it, but normally the trainers have a pretty good feel on what you can do and can't do. So, and you kind of surprise yourself. But I'll tell you, this kid, he just kind of went right at it. I mean, he was fearless with it. And as a result, I'd tell you, he's probably, a little bit ahead, and we just got to evaluate him, and we're not going to do anything to jeopardize him or his career. I mean, that's not what we're doing. We're just, we've taken it day by day with him, and we'll keep doing that and just see how he does here.
Go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Andy. I understand the Browns have another good back in Nick Chubb and a lot of other good players as well, but I was wondering with regard to Kareem Hunt, whether maybe he gives them a capability they otherwise wouldn't have when he's in their lineup.
He's a heck of a player. Absolutely. Both those two. I mean, that's a dynamic duo right there. Those guys, man, they are good football players. And listen, we love Kareem. I mean, he was here, and he's a heck of a kid. And, he just, I'm so happy for him that he's doing well. And really, when it's all said and done, that's the most important thing. You put the game aside, and you want to make sure these guys end up heading the right direction so they can sustain that the rest of their life, and I'm happy for them.
Go next to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Andy, I know we talked, before the regular season finale that this week was going to be somewhere where you have to sort of simulate the intensity that you're going to see in the playoffs, and guys obviously having close to 3 weeks off. Just how important are the next 2 days, and what do you want to see in terms of how much you can increase sort of the tempo or the intensity of practice that will prepare you for Sunday?
Yeah, well, our guys, how we do it. So I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but our guys practice fast, and they do that day in and day out. And that's an important quality to have, especially at this time of the year and the way we've been scheduled here. So I don't think any of that will change once we get into tomorrow and Friday. These guys practice hard and fast. So, but it is important. I mean, for your question, to answer your question, it's important that's what takes place. And that's all part of getting ready to play against a great football team. So that's what we're doing.
Go next to Sam Mellinger. Go ahead, Sam. Give it a shot, Sam. There you go. All right,
guys, can you hear me now?
Sorry. There we go.
Gotcha.
Sorry, my fault. I wanted to ask you about Tyrann. I know he was a hell of a player before he got here, but 2 years and 2 first-team All-Pros. I know people that have watched him throughout his career say this is the best he's played. From your point of view, I'm just wondering is there something schematically or culture or maybe just a long-term commitment? What do you think it is about what you have here that has sort of brought out his best?
Yeah, well, he's a natural born leader. So he comes into a situation where that was needed, I thought, and at that particular time. And then you add that in with the scheme that Spags has. You look at the guys that have played in that position, and Spags moves them all around. So, I mean, you can play him at corner, you can play him inside, you can play him deep. So you've got all kinds of flexibility with him. And you look at the Dawkins and those players that have traditionally been in those positions, in that position, and they've had success with it. And it frees them up to let their personalities show and their abilities to show.
Got time for 2 more. We'll go Vahe and then Herbie to close us out. Go ahead, Vahe.
Hey, Andy. Brad, I'll just ask one set of this first, and then if I could follow up after Andy answers. Andy, it's a long time ago, 2005, but I'm curious, did you even meet Kevin Stefanski when he was a training camp intern that year?
I knew who he was. He was a heck of a football player right there at Penn. So I followed Penn. I had a couple assistants that had been there and coached there. So I knew about. I was close with the head coach there, and it's a neat program. So I mean, it was right there by our facility, and the tradition's phenomenal. So, anyways, all that said, yeah, no, I knew who he was, and yes, I did see him. Yeah.
And just along those lines, there's a lot of things that you coach for, but I think you've indicated it's pretty meaningful to you to see your guys go on to other jobs or guys that are kind of under your tree. Can you express why what it does mean to you, why that matters?
Yeah, I just think it. These guys work their tail off. So, and they work all the areas of what you need to be a good football coach, and it's not all X's and O's. I mean, that's a big part of it, but it's not all X's and O's. It's how you deal with people and take care of your players, and at the same time try to give them whatever they need to be the best they possibly can be. And so you see guys go through this, and you see their players mature, you see them mature, and then you go, well, heck, they sure deserve a job, to have an opportunity to run their own building and then teach others, how to do the same thing. So I think it's kind of a neat process as it works out over the years. I'm part of that process because of Mike Holmgren. So I've lived this, and it's kind of a neat deal to be a part of.
We'll go last to Herbie Tiobi. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon.
All right, Herbie.
I've asked you a couple times in the past month about Mitchell Schwartz, and here we are in the postseason, and I'm curious now how much of a scenario exists in your mind that you could potentially get him back if you advance in the postseason, or is this just a matter of making sure his back is okay for the 2021 regular season?
Yeah, backs are fickle, man, and so he's not going to be back this week, and then we're literally taking that day by day. I mean, it's these things are crazy. There's nobody that wants to play more than this guy. So I mean, I know how he's wired. I mean, you don't play all the games he played in a row and not enjoy the game. So, but he physically can't do that right now, and we'll just see how it goes down the road. I don't think anybody's lost hope in that. We're just sometimes time is an important thing here.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.